printed a bunch of these. I don't know if the
appreciate
people who are
that, yeah.
participating want them also.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which is Ellen? Is she here yet?
She was in the kitchen.
Okay.
Susan is in here, but Ellen is not yet.
Okay.
Yep, and there's a guitar stand this time.
Yes,
Perfect.
I found that.
Do you need water or anything?
Well, I need to fill it up, but I didn't like the way this.
Let me just bring you a bottle. That'll probably.
Thank you.
Yeah. it yet.
That's what I figured. You know, so-
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Is Ellen here? Yeah. I think we're going to sing first, a little Hine Matov, and then you'll take it away. Whenever you're ready.
Alrighty, sounds good.
And hopefully they'll start singing and stuff.
Well, I'm
Hine matov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine Repeat after me. How good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. How good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. Hine matov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. How good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. How good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. Hine matov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad.
Shabbat Shalom. I'd like to welcome you all from far and near who've come here tonight for services. My name is Susan Smolinski. I'm the president of the Southern Region of Hadassah. Members of Hadassah will be leading the service this evening. This year, the year 2023, Jews around the world are celebrating and recognizing the 75th anniversary of Hadassah, of the state of Israel. Hadassah's been around before that. Hadassah was an integral piece of creating Israel's history, and it was instrumental in building the medical infrastructure of the state. And we'll be learning a little bit about that tonight. At this point, I'd like to invite some of Hadassah's past presidents and other members to come up and light the Shabbat candles.
As they're coming up, I invite you to turn to our candle blessing, page 120 in our prayer book. What a lovely group. promise I didn't give you trick candles. Beautiful, beautiful. Shabbat Shalom, and thank you all for serving as presidents. Miss Eileen. We turn now to page 124.
May the door of this synagogue be wide enough to receive all who hunger for love, all who are lonely for friendship. May it welcome all who have cares to unburden, thanks to express, and hopes to nurture. May the door of the synagogue be narrow enough to shut out pettiness and pride, envy and enmity. May its threshold be no stumbling block to young or straying feet. May it be too high to admit complacency, selfishness, and harshness. May this synagogue be, for all who enter, the doorway to a richer and more meaningful life.
So as we enter Shabbat this evening, I'm curious if anybody wants to share something that was amazing that happened this past week that they're carrying with them into Shabbat. I can see the wheels turning in everybody's head. Okay, say it louder. Fifth grade graduation. Anybody else? You want to share something? Are you done with school? Do you have a few more days, or are we done for the summer? We have, my daughter's in kindergarten. We have 2 more days, I think. Anybody else? Yeah?
I'd like to say that it's wonderful to see people who I haven't seen in a long, long time, and I really welcome their presence here.
What a wonderful thing for us to take with us into Shabbat. Anybody else? I'm sure there are other wonderful things that everybody is thinking about. Let us carry all of those with us as we welcome the Sabbath presence to our community with the words of Lecha Dodi, page 138 and 139. I invite you, if you're comfortable when we get to that 9th and final verse, to rise, to face the door that we entered, to welcome Shabbat just as if you were welcoming a friend to your home. Please join with us.
Shabbat
seats, I'm going to invite you. We just greeted Shabbat. Take a moment to greet someone in front of you, behind you, maybe across from you, someone you didn't arrive here with. A Shabbat Shalom, and then make your way to your seats.
Love the music. Love the music.
This is Rabbi Barry Weinstein.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here. Just gonna do one verse of the news portion. Nice print. Nice group. Your husband is commander there.
Actually, he got invited to do a naval ceremony, so he is flying back from Jacksonville, Florida right now. My parents are in town, so at a pool party, to be honest. Yes.
I'm going to invite you to make your way to your seats. We have plenty of time to schmooze and socialize and revel in the joy of community when we join together in dinner after our service. But I invite you to make your way to your seats as we turn to page 140 and sing together.
Mizmor shir liyom haShabbat tov lehodot l'Adonai l'Adonai uzamer l'shimcha elyon uzamer l'shimcha elyon. Let's do that again. Mizmor shir liyom haShabbat tov lehodot l'Adonai l'Adonai uzamer l'shimcha elyon uzamer l'shimcha elyon. Where are we? Hadid b'boker chastecha chastecha be'emunat zabaleno alei asar ve'aleina ve'alei higayon ve'chinor mizmor shir liyom haShabbat tov lehodot l'Adonai uzamer l'shimcha elyon uzamer l'shimcha elyon uzamer l'shimcha elyon uzamer l'shimcha elyon.
Let us continue this theme of welcoming as we welcome the ministering angels of Shabbat with the words of Shalom Aleichem, page 142.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharim, Malachei Elyon, Mimelech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mimelech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mimelech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedkem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mimelech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
The Chatzi Kaddish at this moment in our service is our transitional moment. Everything we've done until now is kind of like our warm-up. But when we get to Chatzi Kaddish, this is the moment where we say that we're ready. We're ready to enter prayer, whatever that means for each of us as individuals and each of us as part of a community. So let us pause for a minute. Let us take a deep breath. As we inhale, let us hold with us those amazing things we thought about at the beginning of our service. And as we exhale, let's try to exhale all of our burdens away. Let's allow our shoulders to become a little lighter and leave that to-do list that maybe we didn't accomplish for the week aside. And let us just enter Shabbat. Page 144.
Yitkada v'yitkada shemei rabba v'yamad yivarach yirutei v'yamlik malchutei v'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael ba'agala u'v'yizman kariv v'yimeru Yehi Shmei Rabba Mevorach Le'olam Le'om Me'amaya Yitbarach V'yishtabach V'yitpa'ar V'yitramam V'yitnaseh V'yithadar V'yitaleh V'yithalal Shemei Dekudashah La'ed Lamin Kol Birchata V'shirata Tushbechata v'nechemata damiran b'yalma v'yemeru.
As we turn the page to page 146, I invite you to rise. You may be seated. Page 148.
Join me for the Ma'ariv Aravim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bidvaro Ma'ariv Aravim b'chokhmah poteach she'arim uvifuna mishane itim umachalif et hazmanim umisader et hakochavim b'mishmerotehem barakia kirtsono borei yom v'layla goleo or mipnei choshech v'choshech mipnei or uma'avir yom umevi layla umavdil ben yom uven layla Adonai tzevaot shemo el chai v'kayam tamid yimloch aleinu leolam va'ed Baruch atah Adonai Ha'ma'ariv Aravim. Join me in English. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzvaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us in eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening. Baruch atah Adonai HaMahariv Aravim. And join me on page 150 for the Ahavat Olam. Ahavat Olam Beit Yisrael Amcha Ahavta Torah u'mitzvot chukim u'mishpatim otanu limadeta Al ken Adonai Eloheinu b'shachbeinu v'kumeinu nasiach b'chukecha v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha uv'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed ki hem chayenu ve'orech yameinu uvahem neged yomam v'layla ve'ahavatecha al tasir mimenu le'olamim Baruch atah Adonai ohev amo Yisrael.
We invite you to rise for Shema if you wish. You may be seated, page 154.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווה היום על לבביך ושנאתם עיניך ודיברתם בשיטתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשבתך ובקומך ובשרתם להיות על ידיך והיו תותפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם בכל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתכם מארץ מצרים להיות להם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
Just need to run it to tomorrow. Who needs to be here? Page 157.
In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. Thy heavens declare your glory, May earth reveal your justice and love. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way. Inspired by prophets and sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel is singing on the shores of the Dead Sea.
To have a singing congregation.
It
You can
is
just
wonderful.
ask everybody else to sing.
I'm
It's
so glad that they're not bashful.
So beautiful.
Very important to me.
I have a question. How many people in this room, either at this moment or at any moment in your life, were ever afraid of the dark? Thank you for being brave and raising your hand with me, right? Or maybe you're not afraid of the dark, but something has happened to you when you were in a new place. You heard the creaks of a new building. Something at night made your ears perk up. That's not new, right? It's been part of humanity forever. And it's why the rabbis, a really long time ago, when they were putting together our prayers, decided that in our evening prayers, we needed a prayer to remind us that in the evening, there is this Sukkot Shalom, this shelter of peace over us. And that's exactly what we are reminded about when we sing and we read the words of Hashkivenu. So I don't know, the next time, for some reason, you hear a new noise, or when you wake up in the morning and your eyes aren't quite adjusted even, and you're thinking about darkness, remember that there's always this Sukkot Shalom, this shelter of peace resting over us. Let us sing a bit of Hashkivenu, page 160.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu L'Shalom Amideinu Reinu L'Chaim Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu L'Shalom Amideinu Reinu L'Chaim.
Grant, O God, that we lie down in peace and raise us up, our guardian, to life renewed. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Guide us with your good counsel, for your name's sake be our help. Shield and shelter us beneath the shadow of your wings. Defend us against enemies, illness, war, famine, and sorrow. Distance us from wrongdoing. For you, God, watch over us and deliver us. For you, God, are gracious and merciful. God, our going and coming to life and to peace evermore. Blessed are you, Adonai, guardian of Israel, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over Jerusalem.
Baruch atah Adonai, haborei Sukkot Shalom Aleinu, ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. Who has a favorite part about Shabbat? Anybody have a favorite part about Shabbat?
Challah.
Challah. It's a good part. You have a favorite part? The singing. things about Shabbat, being able to be together, to celebrate each other. And it's that allows Shabbat to continue. We're about to sing Vishamru, and the words remind us to keep and to guard. And what we're doing right now is accomplishing that. When we're able to come together and build community, when we're able to look at the ancient texts and live our lives through them, then we are truly making sure that Shabbat continues. So join with us, Vishamru, page 162.
That's not gonna work. Vishamru, B'nai Yisrael, et HaShabbat, La'asot et HaShabbat, Lidorotam Berit Olam. Vishamru, B'nai Yisrael, et HaShabbat, La'asot et HaShabbat, Lidorotam Berit Olam. Beinu vein B'nai Yisrael, Odi le'olam, Odi le'olam. Vishamru B'nai Yisrael, et HaShabbat, La'asot et HaShabbat, Lidorotam Berit Olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai, et hashamayim ve'et haaretz. Vishamru B'nai Yisrael, et HaShabbat, La'asot et HaShabbat, Lidorotam Berit Olam. Uvayom hashvi'i, Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash. Vishamru B'nai Yisrael, et HaShabbat, La'asot et HaShabbat, Lidorotam Berit Olam. Vishamru B'nai Yisrael, et HaShabbat, La'asot et HaShabbat, Lidorotam Berit Olam.
As we turn the page to page 164 and we enter our Amidah, we will chant together in Hebrew the right-hand side of the page of the next few pages, and I invite you to rise at this time.
Adonai, Sifatai Tiftach, Ufiach Itahilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei
invite you to continue silently with your own private prayers now, using the words of the page if you wish until page 180, or just the words you find in your own hearts this evening. And I invite you to be seated whenever you wish. Many of us in this space right now might be feeling that sense of shalom that we just sent to the world, that sense of peace. But we know there are those both with us in this room, in our families, our friends, our community, and across the world, who are searching for their peace, possibly because they suffer illness, illness of body, illness of spirit, or illness of mind. So we pause now in our services to offer prayers of healing for all of those in need. Our UJCBR prayer of healing can be found in our books on page 371. Tonight, as a community, we think of Joy Lewis, Lucy Silva, Minabat Yentl, Mordechai Bendina, Rowan Hausman, Anna Carlo, Judy Roheim, Frida Tamara Batliba Bela, Menucha Pesa Bat Cherny Umoshe, Gretchen Haynes, Steve Sinkoff, Ruby Smolinski, Lee Kaplan, Jennifer Casson, Vicky Furstel, Storm Matthews, Ivo Spalatin of the older generation, Terry Stern, Judith Von Brentnell, Kaylee Barron, Cecil Bat Yentl, Sue Barton, David Berman, Harvey Schwartzberg, Maxine Cohn, and John Carlson. If there are others you are thinking of this evening, if you'd like to share their names aloud, I invite you to do so.
Joan Gerard, Marion J.
For all those names we heard aloud and those whom we hold in our hearts, we offer prayers of healing.
Can you all see me? I'm afraid if I stand on the stool, I'll fall off. Good. How many people know about the organization of Hadassah? How many people know why it's called Hadassah? It's called Hadassah because it was formed in 1912 around the holiday of Purim. And Hadassah is the Hebrew of Esther, hence the name Hadassah. It was formed by Henrietta Zold is the founder of Hadassah. This is Henrietta Zold. And contrary to popular opinion, which had been told it looks like me, it's not. And I can tell you why. My hair is pink, hers is not. Hadassah was founded in 1912 by Henrietta Zold. And it is a Jewish American women's volunteer organization. It's 300,000 members strong. It's a philanthropic organization, and we raise money for health initiatives and research in Israel and education. And in this country, there are community programs. We advocate for women's health equity, and religious autonomy, as well as fighting anti-Semitism. Our slogan is Hadassah, the power of women who do. And you'll see why that's important in a few moments. I'm the president of the southern region, which is comprised of 6 states: Alabama, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Tennessee, and the Florida Panhandle. In order to understand about Hadassah, you need to know a little bit about Henrietta Zold and the early history of the organization. Henrietta Zold was born in 1860. She died in 1945. Her parents immigrated to Baltimore from Hungary, where she was raised. She was a teacher, and she started a night school in Baltimore to teach immigrants English and to help train them to become United States citizens. In 1902, she moved to New York to attend the Jewish Theological Seminary, under the proviso, however, that she not seek to become an ordained rabbi. But her love of Judaism wanted her to study and learn. In 1909, when she was nearing 50 years old, she was suffering an unrequited love affair. She was depressed and sad, and her mother thought to cheer her up, let's take a trip. They took a trip to the Middle East, which was then under the Ottoman Empire in the Middle East. They traveled throughout a lot of the area that is today Israel. And she was very disturbed by the poverty and the diseases that ran rampant there. And she wanted to do something about it. When she returned to New York, she began talking about her experiences in the Middle East. And one of her study groups, they were talking about it, and they decided, this is what we will do. We'll form an organization, we'll raise money to send medical help to the Middle East. So in 1912, on Purim, that's exactly what they did. Within a year, they had chapters in Boston, in Baltimore, New York, and Philadelphia. And within a year, they had raised enough money to send 2 nurses to Jerusalem. Within 1 year, they had raised enough money for 2 nurses. Hadassah, the power of women who do. The nurses got to Jerusalem, and there was a skeletal medical staff there that they met with, but they soon realized that with the plethora of diseases, they needed more help. So they began to recruit young women to teach them the basics of first aid and good hygiene. By 1918, 5 years later, Hadassah had established a full-fledged nursing school. It was the first nursing school in the Middle East. 5 years they had done this. Hadassah, the power of women who do. And Henrietta's dream, her vision, was that we will treat anyone in need of health care, regardless of race, religion, or ethnicity. It was open to all people who lived in the area and needed care. In 1919, Hadassah organized the first school of hygiene that was designed to provide routine health care examinations for children. In 1923, Hadassah initiated a school lunch program to provide healthy and nutritious meals to children. The first tuberculosis treatment was started by Hadassah in the Middle East, was started by Hadassah in Sfat. Hadassah, the power of women who do. In the early 1930s, a German woman had started building these youth aliyah villages. And while this was not initially a Hadassah incentive, Henrietta Zold was asked to be the first director. These youth villages were designed to house children from Germany and other countries under Nazi control, to shelter them and help them in a new land. In 1939, the Rothschild Hadassah University Hospital on Mount Scopus opened. This was the first teaching hospital in the Middle East. 1939, this is before the creation of the State of Israel. Hadassah, the power of women who do. Hadassah funded hospitals, medical schools, dental facilities, infant welfare stations, and soup kitchens for Jews and Arabs and whoever else was living in the area, all before the creation of the State of Israel. The hospital that I just mentioned that opened in 1939 is on Mount Scopus. If you know Jerusalem at all, that's in East Jerusalem. So that was operating until 1948. In 1948, as soon as Israel announced its independence, it was cut off from the rest of Israel. Hadassah didn't have access to it, but it didn't stop the Hadassah people from still providing health care. They found temporary sites throughout the city of Jerusalem and set up clinics that continued with their providing health care. And in the meantime, they also began raising money to build another hospital. 20 years later, in 1967, after the Six-Day War, when Jerusalem was reunited, which just so happens to be, today is that day, Yom Yerushalayim. It's a holiday in Israel to celebrate the reunification of Jerusalem. Hadassah got its hospital back. Now, it had not been destroyed, it was still standing, but you can imagine that after 20 years, it wasn't, what do they say, key ready. There were a number of renovations that did have to be made, major renovations, so it was not till 1975 that was able to be opened again. Because the hospital is located in East Jerusalem, a large portion of the patients that are treated there are Arabs. But in the meantime, Hadassah built its hospital that probably people are most familiar with, is the hospital in Ein Karim, which is on a hilltop in South Jerusalem. It is a research hospital, and it's world-renowned. People probably know about it because its chapel houses the Chagall windows, which depict the 12 sons of Jacob. And if you haven't seen it, it's well worth the visit to go there. As I mentioned earlier, there are youth Aliyah villages that Hadassah is responsible for. These villages initially, as I said, were for housing refugees from Nazi Germany. Today, they still provide shelter for immigrants from various countries that they need to leave from. And in fact, most recently, they've been taking in children from Ukraine. But in addition to immigrants, they also take care of at-risk children. And again, regardless of race, religion, or ethnicity. The at-risk children are Muslims, they're Jews, they're Druze, they're whoever needs assistance. Some of them are residents there, some of them are day students. So what is Hadassah doing today? So that's a little bit about how it got started. But Hadassah does have a long history of helping people. And from its inception, it was Henrietta Zoll's mission, and she insisted upon equal health care and access to anyone who needed it. And this has been the heart and the compassion of Hadassah ever since. Right from the beginning, during the 1920 Arab riots, Hadassah nurses treated parties on both sides, the wounded on both sides, and this too has continued to today. Hadassah, over half of the medical research in Israel is done at Hadassah Hospital. Hadassah is the second largest employer in Jerusalem after the government. In 2005, Hadassah was nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize because of its care and compassion to people of all races and creeds and religions. Hadassah also sends teams, medical teams throughout the world in times of crisis or just when they see a need. After the Ukraine war started, Hadassah sent a medical team of doctors and nurses to tend to children who were traumatized by the war. They're concerned about their physical as well as mental well-being. After the Turkish earthquake a few months ago, again, Hadassah sent a team of doctors and nurses to tend to the care, which was a little bit tricky because they had to go through Syria, which is not necessarily friendly to Israel. Hadassah also sends teams to places where medical assistance is needed. Shortly before the pandemic, Hadassah sent a team of doctors and nurses to Ethiopia to treat young children and people with spinal deformities, such as scoliosis, which, while may not be entirely life-threatening, is certainly a very painful disease. And they set up camps, hospital camps, and were able to do a number of surgeries then. And there's even a Baton Rouge connection with Hadassah. Several years ago, when Kip Holden was the mayor, he went on a mayor's trip, and one of his stops was Hadassah Hospital. And if you know the mayor, you know he would just talk to anybody, and they'd talk back to him. And he met some doctors there, made a connection, and when he came back to Baton Rouge, he made those connections with Baton Rouge General. In the United States, Hadassah also has a number of programs. Like I said, we advocate for medical equity and women's health issues. Hadassah was an early advocate in the United States for the expanded treatment and funding for research for AIDS. Hadassah is an advocate for religious autonomy. There are a lot of anti-Semitism programs that Hadassah supports and advocates for. Hadassah was instrumental in the recent Never Again Education Act, which is to teach Holocaust education and social justice in the schools. So we have a lot to be proud of. We've done a lot of good things in this world. In the 110 years since Hadassah has been founded, the world has gone through 2 world wars, 2 major pandemics, numerous epidemics, including the prevalence of typhoid, influenza, AIDS, and there's also been a number of political upheavals. In each of these events, Hadassah has risen to the occasion and provided expertise, insight, and most importantly, hope. Thank you for listening.
Susan, thank you so very much for sharing. I am sure that when we join together in a moment when services are complete in our social hall, if you have any more questions about Hadassah or how you can get involved, you can ask Susan or any of the women and more who are in this room that participated in services. Also, a huge thank you to all those people who put services together and who helped participate in services and help provide our delicious meal that we'll be enjoying in a little bit. But let us turn to our concluding prayers. So I invite you to open your prayer book to page 586. And I'm going to invite any of the kids in the room who want to help. We're skipping it because of time. 586. If any of I know some of the kids skedaddled if they want to join us again. Can you walk yet, little lady over here? You want to come open the ark? No?
She's been very vocal.
Yeah.
Very
She is,
pleasantly so.
Come on up. 586. I'm going to invite you as they open the ark and walk up those stairs to please rise. Do you remember how to do it? Do that side first. Yeah. Why don't you open it and then let her push it? Oh, can you do the button too? Need help? Let me do it.
Alleluia, la donna, la te
time in our service, we think about our loved ones who are no longer with us. Tonight, we think of two who passed away in the past 7 days. Jeannie Beula Franklin Samuels and Robert Berenson. To their names, we add the name of one who passed away in the past 30 days, Erwin Schaub. We also think of those who died this past year: Richard Stone, John Wormser, Robert Eisenbach, Jerry Suppos, Donald Kim, Hannah Bine, Nathan Zuckerman, Bernie Flicker, Herman Van Oz, Shirley Marvin, Victoria Vestel, Morris Bonadonna, Lynn Schmulin, Jerry Black, Abraham Hutt, Ronald St. Pierre, Josh Yellen, Celestina Kovacevic, Margaret Shaw, Albert Frankel, Jerry Adams, and Stephen Zuckerman. We also think of those who died at this season in years past and whose family members are observing the Yortzeit, the anniversary of death, on this Shabbat. Harold Bromberg, Ella Cherry, Lois Daniels, Jeanette Edinger, William Edinger, Andy Kaplan, Samuel Kaufman, Bertha Kern, Michael Kovner, Lena Langlois, Julia Benedict Cohn-Marks, Jacob Moskov, Nechama Rivlin, Abraham Rosa, Lorraine Sklover, Earl Suffren, Annie Wander, Judith Waxman, and Sadie Weintraub. If there are others you are thinking of this Shabbat, if you'd like to share their names aloud, I invite you to do so. For those names we heard aloud and those whom we hold in our hearts, we turn together to the words of Mourner's Kaddish, page 598, and I invite you to rise if you wish. Yitgadol v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, ve'alma divrach yirotei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomachon v'chayei dekol beit Yisrael, Ba'agala uvizman kariv imru. Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach leolam olamei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtavach v'yitpa'ar v'yitroman v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei dekudasha barichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechamata. Da'amiran be'alma v'imru. Amen. Yahei Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya, V'chaim Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael V'imru. Amen. Osei Shalom B'mromav, Hu Ya'asei Shalom, Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael V'imru. Amen. May all their memories be for a blessing, as together we say. Amen. You may be seated as I invite Harold, representing our board, to share some announcements.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. First of all, thanks are in order. So thanks to all the ladies of Hadassah and their helpers for helping the rabbi lead services tonight. Thanks for the music.
It's lovely to be here, thank you.
And of course, thanks to all of you for being here, both in the room and on electric waves. The announcements tonight are tomorrow morning. There is Torah study at 9:30 a.m. in the social hall and on Zoom. Minyan at 10 o'clock in the green room, and services at 10:30 a.m. in the sanctuary or on YouTube. Charlene, again, will be joining us tomorrow for the 10:30 service in the sanctuary. Tomorrow evening, there is a Hadassah service on Zoom, hosted by the Saxies. Also on Sunday, join Rabbi Smiley at 10:30 a.m. for our next adult learning session, where we will look at the bizarre situations recorded in the Talmud. Also on Sunday at 1 o'clock, join the book club to discuss Israel, A Concise History of a Nation Reborn by Daniel Gordis. The holiday of Shavuot begins on Thursday evening, May 25th. Join us at 6 p.m. to kick off the holiday, where we celebrate the receiving of the Torah with prayer, discussion, and ice cream. On Shavuot, it is customary to remember our loved ones who are no longer with us. So next Friday, join us as we recite Yizkor at 5:15 and stay for Shabbat services. Sushi appetizers will be served between Yizkor and Sabbath services. All of this information, as usual, can be found in our weekly email announcements and in our monthly newsletter and or on the website. And if all else fails, call us and we'll help you. Shabbat Shalom.
We are going to end tonight thinking about the state of Israel. So before we join together in singing Hatikva, I'm going to invite Miriam to join us, come on up, and lead us in our prayer for the state of Israel. As she's coming up, you can find the prayer for the state of Israel on page 377. You want to use mine? Miriam, you can use mine.
אבינו שבשמיים, צור ישראל וגואלו, ברך את מדינת ישראל, ראשית צמיחת גאולתנו, הגן עליה בעברת חסדך, ופרוס עליה סוכת שלומך, ושלח אורך ועמיתך לראשיה, שריה ויועציה, ותקנם בעצה טובה מלפניך, ונתת שלום בארץ, ושמחת עולם ליושביה, ונאמר אמן.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Now I invite everybody to turn to the words of Hatikva, which you can find on page 678, and I invite you to rise and sing with us. To remain standing, turn to page 123 where you can find the words of our Friday evening Kiddush. We're going to do Kiddush and Motzi in here so we can go into the other room and enjoy our delicious food. So Joel Goldman, please come forward and lead us in Kiddush, and then Rabbi Barry Weinstein, please come forward and lead us in Motzi. L'chaim. Please, Rabbi Weinstein, do you want the kids to join you? We got some friends who want to join you. You got a choo-choo train of friends coming to join you for Motzi, Rabbi.
As we give thanks for this bread with which we are blessed and the nourishment which we receive from it, how grateful we are also for the nourishment we received from our worship this evening and the beautiful leadership of Rabbi Sarah and our musician. The nurturing from the bread is like the nurturing we get from one another. And it didn't happen automatically. It took God's blessing through the farmers, the environment, the right rain. So many things had to happen for this to be here. And I'm reminded of when I was a patient in Hadassah Hospital on Mount Scopus some years ago. Beside me were Arabs, Christians, Americans, Europeans, all being treated so beautifully, as was I. There's so much nourishment in this room tonight from our shul, our congregation, and I am so grateful that Linda and I can be here and be part of our newly unified Jewish community. How blessed we are. So with all of this in mind, will you help me, please, as we do this? You want to take off the cover? Okay, let's go. Ready? Hamotzi lechem min haaretz. We give thanks to God for bread. Our voices rise in song together as our joyful prayer is said. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. One other thing I wanted to mention. When did Hadassah begin in Baton Rouge? It was in the 1990s. And where did it begin? In our home on Glenmore Avenue. And Linda and I, and many of you here, founded the Hadassah of Baton Rouge. So it's really a special night. And hey, males, you can become an associate member. I'm an associate lifetime member. So come on.
So is my husband.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat
Please
shalom.
join us in the other room for a delicious meal. Lovely leading services as always. Lots of moving parts tonight.
Yes, I know. It made me a little.
It's always more difficult when there's so many moving parts.
I know.
Yes.
You know. Yeah. And there were certain things that you wanted and certain things that
Thank you so much. Thank you. So lovely, and what a great group we gathered this evening.
I really think you're a wonderful speaker. And nice how you told all of that. My husband and I, we lived in Knoxville, Tennessee for a number of years, twice actually. And that's where I became a life member. And Bonnie Bourne, who used to be, of course,
She's still there?
yeah.
Bonnie, and let's see, Jill Weinstein?
Well, yes, I was just going to say it was my well, Myra too. It's her brother.
Right.
Myra at my son's bris at our house. Myra was a good friend of mine, and she made me a life member. And a very dear friend.
I'll have to tell you, she's vacationing in Florida this week. Jill is, but I'll have to
so very cool. This is my husband, Jeff.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Susan's name is, yeah. But yeah, so those are two Hebrew names.
But when I said Jill, I didn't know that you had such a
Oh, I mean, yeah. Well, I did her sons, both of them, bar mitzvahs. I'm trying to think, I mean, I did music.
Yeah.
But we used to not babies, but when the parents wanted to, house it. We used to house it, that's exactly it. Yeah, they're very, very dear friends. And, so, okay. But you knew Myra?
I knew, I did.
You did not. But Jill is awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, I've
Just
known Jill ever since I started getting involved in this, and then in the region, and she's been involved as long as I can, longer than I have. But I first met her in Chattanooga. We were in a conference in Chattanooga, and that was when I first met Jill.
What about I just thought of that. Wayne Atlas. She's an architect. Oh, you know what, Jeff? You're right. I switched things. So let's
Yes. But I do want to let you know, I really do enjoy it.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Lovely to be here.
Yes. I hope it is. Battery? I think it's working. Okay. All right. I don't know. Yeah, I think it is. I'm gonna start, I think. Maybe after everybody gets their food.